Today on the newscast, Iran unveils a new cruise missile that it says can reach Israel as the Iranian regime threatens once again to assassinate President Trump. Get all the breaking details next. Hey folks, Eric Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman newscast. It was a very busy weekend for the Iranian regime, not only threatening to assassinate a former U.S. president, but unveiling a new cruise missile that it says can reach not only Israel, but U.S. ships in the region. Folks, this is the kind of story that the mainstream media is ignoring, but we are covering it right here on the Watchman newscast. That's why I encourage you to subscribe right here on YouTube and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. This was a major story coming out of Iran over the weekend, and again, very scant media coverage. Thankfully, we've got the inside story for you right here on the Watchman newscast. Let's start with the cruise missile. Now, bear in mind that Iran oftentimes boasts about its military capabilities, and these are oftentimes false boasts. We shall see about this cruise missile. It's called the Pave missile that Iran unveiled over the weekend on state TV, showed footage of it. And according to the regime, this missile can travel over 1,000 miles, which would enable it, of course, to hit Israel, but also U.S. ships in the region. And the Iranian general who kind of unveiled this at a press conference, he explicitly made those threats against Israel, the U.S., and Europe as well. His name is Amirali Hajizadeh. And the cruise missile was just one part of what he said. The even more troubling comments concerned U.S. officials or former U.S. officials, in particular, former President Trump, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and military officials who were in office in January 2020 when Iranian terror master Qasem Soleimani was killed. Now, remember, President Trump ordered that drone strike against Soleimani as he got off a plane in Baghdad, Iraq. He was eliminated. An arch terrorist, probably the most dangerous terrorist in the world, and President Trump ordered his elimination. Iran has been raging for 3 years plus ever since the death of Soleimani. He was really an irreplaceable cog in their terror wheel, and they've been vowing revenge, again, against the United States ever since. And according to this top Iranian general, that desire for revenge on the part of the Iranian regime has not abated over the past 3 years. We've discussed here in the newscast in the past year or so Iran's attempts to assassinate former Trump administration officials here on U.S. soil. Among those officials, Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, who you've seen here on The Watchman. This general's comments over the weekend, basically, he didn't go into too much detail, but what he did said was, Allah willing, his words, we will kill Trump, Pompeo, and the military officials who made the call to eliminate Qasem Soleimani. A very explicit threat, folks, really wrap your heads around this, a very explicit threat to murder U.S. officials by a leading general in the Iranian regime, in the Iranian military. And the response is basically crickets chirping, not only from the Biden administration, who you think they're the current administration, you would think they would fiercely respond to defend former U.S. officials, but nothing. No statement, nothing from the Biden administration. No condemnation from the UN, surprise, surprise. Again, the European Union as well, nothing. Again, folks, open threats by a top Iranian military official to assassinate U.S. officials, and nothing. Folks, look, as you review the 20th century, the century of Mao, Stalin, Hitler, Saddam, Pol Pot, if that taught us anything, it's that when evil men tell you they want to kill you, you should believe them and take them at their word. What I do here is not brain surgery. I'm simply watching what the Iranian regime is saying, and I'm taking them at their word. Again, 3+ years of threats now against President Trump, Secretary Pompeo, and others. I hope that Washington, D.C. and the current administration are taking these threats very seriously. At the same time, we've got another developing problem with the Iranian regime and its cooperation, increasingly close military cooperation with Russia. Now, we've documented here in the newscast how Iran, which views itself as a drone superpower, has been rolling these drones off assembly lines and sending them to Russia to be used in Ukraine. And Russia is doubling down. They want more military assistance from Iran, to the point where Iran is going to now build a drone factory inside Russia, as we reported here in the newscast recently. Well, now Russia is saying, if you are all in with us, Iran, then we'll give you some help as well, in the form of Russia now reportedly potentially helping Iran with its ballistic missile program. And not only that, supplying fighter jets to Iran. Now, number one, remember, Iran's current Air Force is pretty much a shambles with old fighter jets from the 1960s and 1970s. They badly need an update to their Air Force, and they know that, and they believe Russia could fill that need. And guess what? Russia may very well do that. Quid pro quo type relationship. Hey, Iran is not supplying Russia with lethal assistance in Ukraine for nothing. Russia will return that favor in some way, whether it's helping Iran with missile technology, helping Iran with fighter jets, supplying fighter jets. There's even been some rumblings perhaps Russia would help Iran in some regard with its nuclear program, and that would be a major red line for Vladimir Putin's regime to cross. But when we're talking quid pro quo here and this growing relationship between Russia and Iran, which really covers all areas now, folks, military, economic, trade, and so on, my main concern, though, when it comes to that Russia-Iran alliance, and folks, that's what it is shaping into a formal military alliance between these two nations. My main concern there is that Iran is going to nudge Russia to shut the skies over Syria to Israel. Remember, there are thousands of Russian troops in Syria right now still. They're not going anywhere, and they effectively control Syria's airspace. That could be a major problem for Israel if Russia decides to shut the skies, because Israel needs to continue to strike Iran and Hezbollah and their various jihadist allies in Syria, who want to not only establish a forward base there from which they can strike Israel, but also use it as a transit point for precision-guided missile PGM parts, transit them right through Syria into the hands of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. So Israel, needless to say, in what's been called the war between the wars, has carried out hundreds of airstrikes against Iran in Syria in recent years. Iran does not like this. It's happening under the noses of Russian troops in Syria. I don't think that it is beyond the realm of possibility that a day is coming where Russia says to Israel, enough is enough, at Iran's urging, of course. Hey, Iran's going all in, supplying Russia with drones and other support in Ukraine. Could Russia return the favor in that regard, in helping Iran in Syria? By helping, I mean telling Israel the airstrikes are over. And how would Israel respond to that? Folks, a very interesting dynamic right now. And this is at the forefront of the minds of Israeli leaders. That's why you haven't seen Israel go all in supporting Ukraine. They don't want to anger Russia and then create problems in Syria, because Israel needs that freedom of movement inside Syria to push back and ultimately eliminate the existential threat of the Iran terror infrastructure inside that country. So folks, a very precarious situation right now. At the end of the day, Russia is aligned with Israel's greatest enemies. There's no way around it. Whether it's the Iranian regime, the Assad regime in Syria, Hezbollah hosting Hamas delegations in Moscow, there is no way around it. Let's be realistic. Russia is aligned with Israel's greatest enemies, entities that are devoted to Israel's destruction. So nothing good can come of this. And I think in Jerusalem, They're increasingly getting the memo, so to speak, and seeing what Russia is all about vis-a-vis Israel's enemies, and it's not good. Folks, we're keeping a very close eye on all of this. God Almighty still sits on the throne, and the good news is He's not only in control, the book of Psalms says He actually and literally laughs at Israel's enemies. The God of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Israel will be just fine. Keep all of this in your prayers. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the Watchman Newscast. Until tomorrow, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.